Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today we have a brand new set of great stories for you to enjoy, so sit comfortably, and here we go. Fire us or cut our pay? Enjoy a mass walkout? Back in the early 2000s, I worked for a tech company who offered tech support, on-site support, and training to organizations who either didn't want specialized IT staff or could benefit from outsourcing. The company consisted of the 3 directors, a sales department, finance/HR department, and tech department. Tech was further split with a senior manager, 4 team managers, and each team having 2 section managers. For call center support, where I worked, we had 2 team leaders, 2 senior engineers, 2 normal engineers, and 2 juniors. I was a standard engineer, earning $22,000 for a job that was worth $5,000 more outside of the low-price area where we live in. 2006, I'm still stuck in this job at the same pay. Conditions are worse than before, with no overtime, no flexi-time, no financial compensation for industry qualifications, shortened breaks, and no pay raise since I started. To make matters worse, they sold part of the land that the office was on to a developer, and on-site car parking was now for management only. We had to either pay to use the nearby council car park or risk parking on the street. Morale was low, but despite bad pay, it was still good for the area we lived in. One Friday in July, I think it was the 21st, one of the senior managers finds a document that he shares around the private chat app. It's a restructuring plan that the board voted in last week. Apparently, this had to be made available for the company for 3 months before any changes to terms and conditions could be made. So the board gave it a generic file name and tried to bury it in the large staff shared area of the network. One of the directors was selling his shares and moving on, having been headhunted by a large recruitment firm in a nearby city. The 2 remaining directors had managed to buy most of her shares with a small quantity going outside the company. This was the company response. Most of the document was a typical downsize/restructure package with a twist. A few team mergers, staff reductions, and pay cuts spun as if to say that they needed to maximize their profits to put the lost money back into the company. In October, a new contract would be released for all to sign, and it was generic. In November, the restructure would be announced, and by January 1st, the new structure would be in place. The directors noted that the new contract needed to include clauses for non-competition and for soliciting customers, as these didn't exist except for the sales staff. It also mapped current positions to their new ones and what the new salary would be. I would be down by £5,000 a year. But the twist was that anyone with the word manager in their title would have their pay increased drastically. The team manager's pay jumped from $52,000 to $65,000, for example. By the end of the day, everyone under the rank of team leader had seen this document and was not happy. Over the weekend, I get a text message from one of the senior engineers inviting me to a barbecue at his house. When I got there, most of the tech staff was there, and during the afternoon, we formulated a battle plan. Our revenge. Monday, July 24th, 8 a.m. 26 people in the tech team arrive for work as normal, each with a letter for the senior manager giving their 1-month notice, and all quoting the clause in their contract that states that members of the technical team with access to confidential company information must be off-site and on gardening leave the same day as they hand in their notice. No exceptions will be given. Gardening leave is a term used to say that we still work for the company, have handed in our notice to quit, but can't remain on-site or using company resources, so must wait out the remainder of the notice at home. We can't start a new job within that period. The net effect was that at 9:30 a.m., the director realized that his entire tech staff had quit and marched to the office floor and started harassing one of the seniors. The senior simply stood, took off his ID badge and swipe card, handed it to the director and told him, "I've already quit. This is me now, sticking to my contract." On cue, most of the staff followed, with one member staying until lunchtime. From what I've been told, directors, senior managers, anyone they could get a hold of were on the phones attempting to fix issues. The unsolved open queue went from around 35 to nearly 100 by lunchtime, and naturally the blame was left firmly at the door of those who quit. We were even bad-mouthed to customers. The day after our notice period expired, the senior engineer welcomed 25 new staff in his new company. and had already taken 10 large contracts from the place we used to work for. We all had better pay, not much, but it was better than losing pay, and much better conditions, with an actual career track rather than the whim of the managers. The old company tried to keep afloat for a year, but were losing money on every contract and couldn't afford to employ skilled or experienced people. They closed down in June of 2007, with the owners having to sell personal assets to pay debts, and the 2 remaining directors declaring personal bankruptcy too. I left the new company in 2010 as the market had changed and more companies were hiring staff than outsourcing, so contracts were harder to find. And I also had some minor medical issues that meant I needed to be near home. New company still going strong though, having leaned more towards web design and development than anything else these days. Exactly what happens when management forgets who's doing the actual work. Well played. And our second story. Damaged my TV in transit and denied the claim? No more shipments for you. 10 years ago, I moved for my job. I'd forgot about one of my TVs back home and asked my dad to ship it to me on my company's account since they paid for my move. A couple days later, the delivery driver from shipping company A drops it off. The box was heavily damaged, so I didn't sign for it. He waited while I plugged it in, and to no one's surprise, it was damaged. He said that he could take it back if I didn't want to sign for it, and the shipper could file the claim. I informed him I was the shipper and I would file it here. This was a small mistake, but I've shipped thousands of parts throughout this company, so I figured it wouldn't be a problem. Claim denied a month later. This goes back and forth for a couple of months with multiple emails to this old lady, and she didn't care at all. She was also very rude to me via email and phone. Now, this shipping company A has 2 separate entities, parcel and freight. We solely use the freight company for all of our warehouses across the U.S. I cut them off at my new store and started using Company B. It only took a month before the salesman from shipping company A stopped by. When he showed up and asked why he was losing $20,000 worth of freight a month, I informed him of the $600 broken TV from his sister company a couple of months back. He said that he couldn't do anything about it since it was a separate side of their company and begged for the business back. No dice. This goes back and forth for several months. Our average was about $20,000 to $25,000 a month. They'd bill us for it, and it was a small town, so they were very upset that it was only over a $600 TV. I got a check in the mail about a year after I shipped the TV, along with a letter from their vice president. So I guess this is the pro part. Fast forward a couple years, and I've been promoted within the company to make certain decisions, and one happens to be logistics. None of our locations use shipping company A. Some months we spend well over $100,000, but most are around $80,000 company-wide. This has been going on for several years now. We also inform customers to use shipping company B since shipping company B is awesome and treat us very well. Since about 2011, we've used them countrywide. No telling how much shipping company A lost over a $600 TV. Yeah, dude, I think this counts as pro. It is literally and spiritually a professional act of revenge. And our next story. 75% of my pay? Okay, I'll get a new job. Not me, but a guy I worked with 10 years ago. I guess it counts as revenge. I worked with a guy who really stuck it to his ex-wife. When I met him, he was working in a sporting goods store making $8 an hour. He wasn't really like the other retail monkeys. He was older, well-groomed, well-spoken, clearly educated, etc. One night after work, he gets into his car, and I couldn't help but notice it was a very nice, newish Jaguar. I asked him how he could afford it, and he explained to me. He'd been an SVP at a well-known Fortune 50 company, which I will not mention the name of, pulling in $300,000 a year with bonuses and stock options. He was married, but the marriage fell apart. And in the divorce, she demanded that she get the house and 40% of his wages. He and his lawyer somehow managed to get her to agree to let him keep the house in exchange for 75% of his pay. No dollar figure or employer specified. So as soon as she took the settlement, he quit his job and looked for a minimum wage job. He said to me that she gets 75% of nearly nothing now. He had other money stashed away, so he didn't even need the job, and he had the house and its equity as well. Also, no kids, so there was no child support, just alimony. She was furious, of course, and tried to re-sue him, but failed at least once, and when she claimed that the settlement was not keeping her in the lifestyle she was accustomed to, he simply told the judge that the divorce was traumatic to him and he could no longer do his old job as a result. At least at that time, she didn't manage to get out of the deal. Not sure how it all ended, but I thought it was effing brilliant, if not crazy level spiteful. He was a good employee, too. Good with customers, showed up on time, no BS absenteeism or anything like that. He claimed he loved each payday because it reminded him of how little she was getting. And our last story. All this fighting over something so small? I was watching Lord of the Rings last night and remembered this. My family's been fighting like vultures over who has my grandmother's ring for the past 6 months. She died last year and all her children, age 60 plus, think one of them took it while she was sick. One aunt says it was promised to her and her daughter, but there's no mention in the will, and she thinks my uncle took it because he was around my grandmother the most. I'm treated like the black sheep of the family, where I don't really get invited to weddings or family events in general. I try to put my best foot forward, but usually end up feeling like I'm being taken advantage of. Last time I got invited to be involved, it was because I had money. I also inherited my grandmother's house, and they left it trashed and ransacked after her funeral, including locking her senior cat in a bedroom with no food or water. I luckily ran by the next day, so he's still alive. When I furiously asked who locked up the cat and why, the answer I got was basically, "Oh, I don't know. That's bad. So if you find that ring, can you mail it to me?" What none of them know is my grandmother gave me the ring before she started getting sick and didn't tell anyone because she thought it would start a fight. Edit. Okay, few more details. All the family live really far away and they're pretty old. I don't think they could break in if they tried, and I keep the ring in a safe, very hidden location. This is golden. I need an update when you finally show up to a family event, strut in with the ring on your finger, being all, "Oh, this old thing? Yeah, Grandma gave it to me years ago. Oh, I didn't realize you all were looking for this one." Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.